It's time for another WrestlePlanet news update, as a huge cross-promotion show is set to take place. We look at the surprises from last night's Slammiversary, and the Elite are set to feud with the Bullet Club. All that and more coming up in today's video, but first... On a recent episode of his podcast Grilling JR, Jim Ross spoke of AEW allowing a degree of creative freedom and revealed that Chris Jericho has heavy input in everything he does. He went on to praise the mind of rising star Darby Allin, who he has regular conversations with, and revealed, Chris Jericho has a hand in everything he does, and thank God for it. I'll tell you another guy that we have, Darby Allin, has a great mind. I'm very privileged to have opportunities to have private conversations with Darby. We have a very good relationship and he runs ideas by me all the time. Some of them I agree with, some of them I don't. The good thing, he knows he's going to get an honest opinion from me. He's a good kid and he's learning early. The more input you can have in your creativity, you increase your odds for success. JR went on to discuss modern-day wrestling and directly referenced WWE's Zombie segment, as well as recent Alexa Bliss angles where she uses her magical powers to gain control of her opponent. Ross thinks reality-based storylines work better than fantasy ones and said, "It seems to me like in today's world of pro wrestling, the reality-based stuff is hitting a chord more than the fantasy stuff. Hypnotizing people, zombies, everything for the name and sake of entertainment is a weak-ass excuse. Oh, we're just trying to entertain the audience. That's such a pussy way out of it. Keep drinking that Kool-Aid, buddy. Save your money. It's just not the way to engulf an audience. The audience has got to relate to something in every character that you put on television." Recently, we saw AEW drop the broken Matt Hardy storyline, which involved similar elements to the Fiend Alexa Bliss angles, which hopefully means that they're going in the direction Jim is advocating for, separating AEW from their competition by presenting a product based in reality and sports. But what do you think of Jim Ross's view? Let me know in the comments down below. On last night's Impact Slammiversary show, Don Callis accompanied Impact World Champion Kenny Omega to the ring for the main event of the show. During his promo, Callis said that Omega was tougher than GCW World Champion Nick Gage, who is one of the most feared individuals in the business. This led to GCW's Twitter account responding to the comment, inviting Omega to their Homecoming show, and said, "Omega tougher than Gage? Don Callis, what are you smoking, pal? You and Kenny are welcome to come and prove it, but you have to get in line, and the line starts this Saturday at GCW Homecoming weekend in AC. Saturday, Gage vs Cardona. Sunday, Gage vs Omega. See you there." Omega is yet to respond to the challenge, but a Nick Gage vs Kenny Omega match would be interesting to say the least. At GCW Homecoming, Gage is set to defend his title against Matt Cardona in the main event of the show on night 1, so perhaps we'll see some kind of confrontation if Gage is able to keep hold of his belt. On September 22nd, AEW will hold their first ever stadium show, AEW Dynamite Grand Slam, which will be held from the Arthur Ashe Stadium in Queens, New York. The show will soon be a sellout after tickets went on sale this past Friday. Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer is reporting that AEW have sold more than 15,000 tickets, with the original capacity being set to 17,000. It will be the largest non-WWE crowd in the United States since 1999, and will be AEW's largest attendance in company history. No matches have been announced for the show as of yet, but AEW are going heavy on local promotion to push the Grand Slam as a big success. AEW star Rey Fenix hasn't wrestled in the promotion since April 29th on an episode of AEW Dark Elevation after suffering a groin injury, and is believed to have picked up the injury whilst working in Mexico. We now have an update from the Wrestling Observer that states Fenix is now ready to return to the ring, although the date of which is yet to be confirmed. He and his brother Penta El Zero M are scheduled to defend their AAA World Tag Team titles at Triple Mania on August 14th, so his recovery has allowed him to work the match. Not only this, but Andrade El Idolo called out the Death Triangle on this week's Dynamite, which of course is the team of the Lucha Brothers and Pac, which appears to be setting up Andrade's first major storyline in the promotion. Before we get into what actually happened at last night's Slammiversary, let's talk about a video package that aired during the show. The video was to advertise the upcoming Impact Bound for Glory pay-per-view from Las Vegas, Nevada. This is the first time Impact have filmed a show outside of Skyway Studios in Nashville since the pandemic began. Not only that, but the show was teased as a cross-promotional show between Impact, AEW, New Japan Pro Wrestling, and AAA. These are four of the largest promotions that have been working in the recent Forbidden Door relationships, which have saw major talent trades across the board, most prominently AEW's Kenny Omega, who is the current Impact, AAA, and AEW champion. The build for the show is going to be very interesting, with matches being built across many promotions. Now let's move on to the show itself, as several debuts and returns were teased for Slammiversary last night, so who actually showed up? The first surprise of the night was for the mixed tag team match where Brian Myers and Tenille Dashwood would take on Matt Cardona and a mystery partner. As anticipated, recently released WWE superstar Chelsea Green showed up to fill the spot, who is actually Cardona's real-life fiancée. The pair would go on to defeat Cardona's real-life ex-girlfriend and best friend, marking the former Knockouts champion's return to Impact with a victory. Later on in the night, a vignette aired teasing the next surprise, this time setting up the Impact debut of the former Aiden English. Now going by the name of Matt Rearwalt, he will be using the Drama King gimmick which he used in WWE during his time in developmental, although the actual date of his debut is unknown. Only his hands were shown during the video, and he would paint the words "Long Live the Drama King" on a piece of paper. Then Impact needed to fill the empty slot in the Fatal 4-Way Impact Tag Team title match where TJP was no longer able to compete. This meant his partner Falah Bar needed to find somebody else, and he did so in the form of former WWE superstar No Way Jose, who is simply now known as No Way. Despite the new team's efforts, it was the Good Brothers who would walk away with the titles, which ends Violent by Design's tag title reign. Next, we found out who the mystery opponent would be for Deonna Purrazzo's Impact Knockouts Championship, and accepting the challenge was NWA and AEW wrestler Thunder Rosa, meaning fans got somewhat of a cross-promotional dream match. Despite Thunder Rosa's efforts, Deonna was able to retain her title after connecting with the Queen's Gambit. Fans were then met with another surprise as the champion was confronted by Mickie James, who then issued an invitation to Purrazzo for the NWA Empower event, which is their all-female show, one which Mickie is the executive producer for. The show then closed with the biggest surprise of them all, so let's get into that now. Slammiversary was main evented by the Impact World Championship match where Kenny Omega defended against Sami Callihan, which ended with a huge tease for a potential Bullet Club versus the Elite storyline. The match was brutal and saw forks, pizza cutters, and barbed wire steel chairs all come into play. Then the finish was equally as brutal as Omega placed thumbtacks into Callahan's mouth before hitting him with a V trigger, then driving him into the mat with a one-winged angel for the 1-2-3. After the match, Omega, Don Callis, and the Good Brothers stood tall celebrating the victory before the lights went out. Bullet Club's music then hit, before the Elite were then confronted by the leader of the faction, Jay White. And for the 1% of you that don't know, Kenny Omega is the former leader of the Bullet Club, which has run roughshod over New Japan for several years. It seems that we have an Elite versus Bullet Club feud on the horizon, perhaps coming to head at the Bound for Glory event. When Jay White reached the ring, the Elite initially threw up a 2-sweet, but White seemed to reject their advances before the show cut off to leave us with a cliffhanger. On social media, it was revealed off-air that the Elite and Jay were cleared from the ring by Finn Juice and Sami Callihan before White struck David Finlay Jr. with a switchblade before leaving the arena. And his debut sets up a long-anticipated storyline involving current and former Bullet Club members. This feud will likely bleed into AEW and New Japan Pro Wrestling television going forward, which is great for everyone. But let me know who you think will come out on top in the Bullet Club versus the Elite storyline down in the comments below. And before you go, why not check out my video where I rank the 10 best AEW debuts of all time.